Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel in the Galilee, and today's the 12th of June. It's a Thursday. It's 7:33 in the morning, Israel time, and our weather feels like it's going to get hot today. Oh yeah, 95 high. That's hot. 69, well, it'll go to 68. Then tomorrow, 94, 93, 89, 88. And then, well, so we got a few days of pretty good heat, and then it calms down a little. And okay, enough on the weather. Um, so what we got is war against Iran is, I think, decided already, and it's just a question of what day or hour they're going to strike. Okay? And I'm going to go through that with you. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Ukraine and Russia right now. There's not any point in it. Okay? People are focused on the wrong thing over there. The biblical events, the prophetic events are going to be triggered by what happens to Israel, Iran, Yemen, America, not Ukraine and Russia. Okay? So I'm not focusing on that, but I do cover it. It is important. Okay? Fires are beginning to break out in America now. Evacuations, and there's a lot of fires up in Canada, towards the west in Canada, kind of northwestern Canada, sort of. Uh, I didn't see any significant earthquakes yesterday or today, but I don't check that carefully on earthquakes. I'm not really trying to be an earthquake volcano reporting service. I do try to watch the fires with the fire maps, and the fires in America are starting to pick up now. And that is in Jeremiah 50:51. I will kindle fires in and about your cities, or the cities of the daughter of Babylon. Let me see if I can bring up the fire map. The resolution on this thing is so. I mean, it's not great, but it's viewable. Really isn't that great. Let me see what I can do with this resolution. No, that didn't help anything. Let me go back. Made it worse. Now what happened? Oh, it's making me look at some stupid ad I didn't want to see. Okay. Another stupid ad. Alright. Let's get back in there. There we are. Well, I'll show it to you. It's going to be a map of America, and you'll see white dots. Where you see a white dot with the name of a city is typically just showing you where the city is. Like there's a white dot for Boston, New York. That's not a fire. The fires have a larger white dot, and they don't have the name of the city associated with them. So you'll see there's some fires in Northern California up into Oregon and Washington, and there's some in Florida, and it looks like there's a bunch in some Caribbean countries now. And I'll show it to you for whatever. Okay, now if you want to see it clear, you go to firemap.live. Firemap, one word, .live, and you can see it much better on your own device. Okay? So I'm going to go through all the stuff going on with the war with Iran, and this is going to be the dominant topic today. Okay? And I'm also going to explain to you what's going to happen to Iran and why, according to Bible prophecy, and Yemen, and Iraq, and probably parts of Syria. And we're going to do a pretty good dive into that. And I want to caution you that there's probably going to be a cascading of events. In other words, dominoes stacked and they start falling over. Because it's going to throw tremendous confusion into the heathen. And they're not going to know what's going on and they're going to freak out. And you Satan bots are at the end of the line here, but you don't know it yet, but you'll figure it out in the coming days. You're not going to have to wait weeks and months, days, and you'll see it if you're still above ground. Remember, serving the devil is not the unforgivable sin, and you could always turn to Jehovah and repent and turn against that piece of garbage. Okay? But you're not ready to do that yet because you're still clinging to your hopes of dreams and, evil and darkness and wickedness, and you love all that stuff. And those that really love it ain't never going to make it. But some of you may defect and make it turn on him. It's up to you. I don't expect you to do it today, but when you start seeing the pieces fall, you might change your mind. You might think you're serving the unclean spirits by faith, but you're not. You're serving them by sight. You hear them, you see them, they talk to you, they tell you stuff, and that's what drives you on. If they weren't doing that, you wouldn't serve them. You don't have faith. You might think you do, but you don't. Okay. I know people have precious little respect for me and the time I put into this and so forth, but it's be nice if you hit the thumbs up button. It takes you 2 or 3 seconds and that's it, and I'd appreciate it. Not that people really care what I appreciate. To a lot of people, just somebody playing a flute with an interesting song, and then they go and listen to somebody else playing another song, and that all's going to change. People, just somebody playing a flute with an interest in the coming days, but that remains. They don't understand that till it happens. Okay, we've got moderators. I'm in the live stream. Thank you for those that said they appreciate me. Okay, I'm going to get my post up there as a cut and paste. So it should be pretty easy to get it in. And then I'm going to give you the news, which is quite a bit of news. And I don't want you getting scared. That's the issue here. I don't want to scare you guys. I want you to understand what's happening with the Bible, not to scare you. Okay, let me get this post up. Alright, that worked. Done. Okay. Being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Before I get started, I don't want to forget the chances of Iran doing a preemptive attack on Israel and or American bases in the region is at least 50%. Okay? Because if they realize they're going to be attacked, and they already have realized that, they are going to figure out they are going to come out ahead if they do a preemptive attack. For one thing, they might be able to inflict more damage. For the second thing, if they can inflict enough damage, they may escape further punishment, but I don't think so. Okay? You're hearing about flights of airplanes going into Syria and up to the border with Iraq. What you have to understand is going on there, and these people that are trying to sell you survival equipment and food don't live in the Middle East. They don't understand these things. Okay? Maybe they could understand Russia and Ukraine, okay, but they don't understand the Middle East. So when you're listening, and they don't know the Bible at all, so when you're listening to your usual preppers, survivalists guys with the EAM messages and all the nonsense, they don't know beans about the Middle East. And if you don't believe me, just wait the coming hours and days and you'll see they don't know beans about the Middle East. Why are there Israeli flights going into Syria up to the Iraqi border? Because one of the pathways to Iran, is going to be into Syria, then into Iraq, then into Iran. That's what we did in the past. Very easy to understand. So we have to make sure that there's no radar that can endanger our flights, our planes in Iraq. And there probably is radar there, and it needs to be taken down. There also might be weapons there that could be launched against Israel that need to be taken down. However, if you take out their radar, the amount of weapons that they could really deploy against Israel would be rather limited to drones, which is the way it played out the last time. And we could probably handle the drones. Okay? So that's why that is going on. So Israel's getting ready to go to town. Town being Iran. Now, I'm going to put the pieces together with you with prophecy, and some of you are not going to like it, because all these roads are going to lead to the end of the daughter of Babylon, which is America. Okay? That's on the tail end of this. All right? Some of you are going to be rejoicing like the angels when the daughter of Babylon goes, and some of you are not going to believe it, and that's your right. And some of you are going to believe it and are going to be happy and rejoicing. Before I forget, the situation in Ireland is severe. I heard from somebody from Ireland that's a subscriber, and there was some, immigrants that came there for political asylum or something, and they did some horrific things to some young girls. And you could take a very easy guess at categorizing these illegal immigrants. I don't have to tell you how to do that, you know. And the people in Ireland are sick and tired of it. And they're demonstrating against the government for their insane, lunatic policies. And they want a return to Christianity. Now, they're not, their churchianity is what they should say. They don't know that word, though. Catholic and other churches, that sort of thing, okay? And that also throws in a big light who it is that want to get rid of. And it's their blockading streets, not the police, the people. So the protests in Ireland are pretty severe. Okay? Ireland's part of the UK, and they're not happy. People are very, very, very upset. All right? So that's just another sign of the times right now. We'll cover that as we see developments popping up over there. There's probably other developments inside Europe that I'm not picking up entirely either. Okay? But I'm trying to look for the kingpin events, the things that are going to trigger other events. All right? All right. There are no scheduled negotiations anymore with Iran. Trump is actually verbalizing that the situation with negotiating with Iran has deteriorated, with Iran becoming very aggressive and making demands that Trump can't take seriously.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Elon Musk and Trump made some sort of a treaty. Musk said he overreacted with some posts he made, and he was sorry about that, I believe he said, and Trump was saying he could reconcile with Elon Musk. I think they're making up, unless Musk is trying to stab Trump in the back, which I don't think is the case. I think Musk realizes the threat level to America right now is probably the highest it's ever been since they fought the British in the 1700s. And he doesn't want to help Trump lose America because he's got a lot of money tied up in America. Okay? For whatever that's worth, and however long it may last or not last, I don't know. Okay. The Marines are in Los Angeles. They're helping with arrests and detaining people. Trump has not yet invoked the Insurrection Act. He did say if it's needed, he would do it. What is the Insurrection Act? It's a very old bill, and if America is under extreme stress, duress, like people are trying to break the country up, overthrow the government, things like that, which is what's going on right now. And there's a heavy-duty threat level. The president can just declare, I guess he would write an executive order, that the Insurrection Act has been put into effect, or he may be able to do it without an executive order, I'm not sure. But he could do it with the stroke of a pen, okay? And put the Insurrection Act in order, which, what does that do? It's sort of like a posse comitatus thing where the military it's a reverse of posse comitatus, you might say. It's the military, which could be the Navy, the Coast Guard, the Marines, the Air Force, the Army, all of them, can take on the powers of local law enforcement. I assume they're referencing the sheriff, since the sheriff is the most powerful law enforcement officer in the county. When there were riots in Berkeley, the National Guard would ride with deputy sheriffs, and I was one. And we would tell the you could tell the National Guard what to do, although it was done on a higher level. But I actually never did that. I came on the department after that was over, but I know guys that did. Moving along, there was no Insurrection Act invoked then. So when they invoked the Insurrection Act, the sheriff doesn't ride with the military. The military just does what it wants to do. Okay, and they got the armor and the tanks and the helicopters and the planes, and they just do what they want to do. So they take on the role of law enforcement. So they can tell the people this is an illegal gathering, disband. And if the people don't disband, can they go and shoot them with artillery? Well, if you wanted to press me on this, I think they literally could under Insurrection Act. But would they? Not initially, no. Would they machine gun them like the Chinese did in Tiananmen Square? I believe they could, but they wouldn't initially. What would they do? Well, normally different types of gas weapons, they do have a gas called CS gas. Police don't normally have this. CS gas causes vomiting and extreme rapid diarrhea, you might say. And it's not that harmful after the people get the gastric upset with the diarrhea that they can't control and the vomiting. They're pretty much ready to go home, change their clothes, take a shower, and lay down and rest, okay? That's how that works. Will they use that? I don't know. I think it may have been used in the 60s a little bit. It's not something they're going to be too quick to use. They like tear gas. But tear gas is not that difficult to defeat. Okay? They have other gaseous agents they could use, I suppose, like pepper spray grenades and things like that, The military itself is not trained in general to use nightsticks and get together in a formation with the nightsticks and helmets and face shields and shove the people, away from where they want them to disperse from. The military police are so trained. Okay? But the regular soldiers don't have this type of training. Okay? Now remember, when you're talking about regular soldiers, a tremendous amount of the American military are not trained to do work like this. They work on boats, the Coast Guard and the Navy. They're mechanics. They work in the mess hall. They work as medics. They work in wreckage. They work in quartermaster corps. They drive trucks and jeeps and tanks and fly helicopters. They're on aircraft crews. They do many, many things. A small percentage of the military are combat soldiers. And there's protests scheduled to start Saturday that are easily going to hit 100 cities. They have a map of them. So how much military is in America, and how many of these characters are actually able to go to a riot scene and keep themselves alive and function? Now, sure, practically, or I would think everybody in the military knows how to shoot their rifle. But so what? If you start sending mechanics and cooks and people that, do supply issues and put tires on Jeeps and, work in hospitals, you start sending them to scenes of aggressive riots and protests, you're going to have a lot of injured soldiers. They don't know what they're doing. Now, could Trump take a policy of disperse, disperse? If you don't disperse, we're going to shoot. Sure. Could he get away with that? Well, it would have to be a little bit worse. It would have to do a curfew and say you're violating curfew, surrender, lay down on the floor, or we'll shoot, something like that. And then they might shoot. With Trump, they might start shooting, which will just rip the country up fairly immediately, because then these people, these millions and millions of left-wing people that hate the government are going to see Trump as a very real, serious threat to murdering them. And they're going to rise up immediately. And they'll start fires. And that could be the scripture, I will kindle fires in and about your cities. Cities, it says cities. You see, fires in cities, that's a little on the unusual side, don't you think? Fires in cities. See, cities don't, a building could catch fire, but, it's not, I mean, if God sends fire and brimstone down, that'll do it. Which is what he did in Sodom, and he could do it in this case too. But could it also be that these rioting protesters and sleeper agents are going to light fires in all these cities and try to burn many, many, many buildings and stores and cars all at the same time? Yeah. Could be. Could be. We know the end, but we don't know how we get from where we are today to the end. But we know the end of America. Now, some of you deny that, and that's your right to not believe the Bible. But the others that do believe the Bible, you don't have a right to not believe the Bible. You think you have a right. You have a civil right according to your government to not believe, but not according to God. That's why those that disobey the Bible, there's not going to be that many of them walking around above ground in the near future. You don't really have a right to disobey God. You think you do, because the government tells you do, and people tell you to do, but you don't. That's why he punishes those that are disobedient. And that makes these people hate God because they think he's a cruel, mean God, but he's not. All right, so let's talk about very specific events that have already taken place so you understand the severity of everything. Okay? I mean, basically, if you think I'm telling you this is it, you're right, this is it. I'm not alone on this, okay? Other people are this way. All right. So let's cover this. For prayer, let's pray for all the true believers to be comfortable, safe, and secure wherever they are in the world during these troubled times ahead. Okay? All the true believers. All right, so that covers everybody. What about the government of Israel? Is that going to collapse in the middle of all of this? Well, the honest answer is I don't know. It was supposed to collapse yesterday and they postponed it. The Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, are very, very mad that their people have to go in the draft. They consider the non-ultra-Orthodox Jews dogs. Well, they don't use that word, but they don't consider us real Jews. They consider us historic Jews. They're the only true Jews. They don't even follow the Bible. They follow the Talmud and the Kabbalah. People in Israel are really sick of them. And they're getting corrupt Netanyahu, who wants the votes, to sit there and say, yeah, okay, keep me in office, I'll exempt you from the draft. And the Attorney General is telling Netanyahu, why aren't they going in the draft? It's the law. Why won't they go? Show me why. And Netanyahu won't show him why. Then the Attorney General told Netanyahu to put sanctions on him, and he won't do that. So, now he wants to get rid of the Attorney General. He's such a corrupt piece of garbage. People have no idea. This this thing is the lowest of the low. Okay? And a lot of people in Israel hate this guy. So are they going to disassemble the government and we may lose Netanyahu, which would be a wonderful thing, but you're just going to get another piece of crap in his place from the devil. That's all you're going to get. So, is it going to happen? I don't know. Probably not with the threat of war. Netanyahu's pushing the war because he knows that people aren't going to want to dismantle the government when we're fighting Iran. See how it's putting the pieces together? So I'm beginning to think the government's maybe not going to come apart, but God will take it apart. Okay. I think if they were going to take it apart, they would have taken it apart. The Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox, are worried too about stuff. They are a massively destructive force on Israel. You have no idea. And they're stupid. They keep gravitating to the devil. Look what happened to them in World War II. They're so dumb. A bomb went off at a demonstration in Denver yesterday. An anti-ICE demonstration protest. A bomb went off. In Chicago the day before, the bomb squad was called to defuse a bomb. So I imagine there really was a bomb, but they never said there wasn't or was. But the bomb squad was called. Usually they don't call the bomb squad unless they see something, but you don't know. So if Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, it doesn't mean the army's going to start mowing down everybody, okay? It would mean more or less if the local police could shoot somebody, they can. So the local police generally, if there's a curfew violation, can shoot. But it's pretty drastic when they get that far. They could go to martial law and as part of martial law have a curfew and then put a death penalty on that or something. We don't know. We'll have to watch Trump in action. All embassy personnel within striking distance of Iran, which goes into Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Europe, by the way, to construct emergency action plans and cable it back to the Department of State in Washington, D.C. Trump is still dreaming about sitting down with Iran again. What a schmuck, you know? Saudi Arabia and Jordan government websites were hacked and taken down. cyber attacks are flying around the Middle East. Iran got victim of some cyber attacks too. That's a prequel to war drum. The U.S. Naval Forces Command in Bahrain, housing the U.S. Sixth Fleet, has been placed on high alert with families of U.S. service people being told to prepare to evacuate. Generally, they'll fly them back to America, or they might take them to Ramstein in Germany if they see this temporary. I don't know. They don't generally do this unless you're down to the wire, okay? This is just before the attacks start. Now, we know that the walls of America are going to get knocked down and burned and everything, right? Okay, the only walls America really has are with Mexico, okay? The Mexico Senate president, that's not the president of Mexico, that's the head of the Mexican Senate, got it? Lawmaking body, says Mexico should reclaim the land that America took from them. Okay? Now, I don't know how much land they're talking about going back into the 1700s or wherever, I don't know. But, okay, there you have it. Now, who's going to storm in? The cartels will lead the charge. The military of Mexico may highly likely join in, along with people that are interested in raping, plundering, pillaging, and stealing. There you have it. Be another October 7th on a grandiose level. Yes, Trump does have military on the border there, though that will be more difficult for them. Or they'll break into places where there is no military. Okay. The U.S. State Department is authorizing the departure of non-essential personnel and family members from Bahrain and Kuwait. I think other countries that are at jeopardy are going to get it. Iran said that if Israel attacks them, they're going to attack the military bases that America has in the region, which would, the immediate concern is Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia. These attacks would probably be assisted by Iraq, where Iran has a few 100,000 backed militia people, and Yemen as well. Hamas can't do anything, neither can Hezbollah, and Syria is no friend of Iran. So, the delegation of vehicles from Tunisia, Algeria, and Libya is progressing towards the Rafah crossing, which is where Egypt and Gaza is with a border. And Egypt said that they have failed to apply for permission to get visas to do this political exercise they're trying to do. So Egypt is basically saying they're not going to let them pass through Egypt. They're going to turn them back. Trump did ask Egypt to turn them back, and I'm sure Israel did. And it's just a dumb political stunt that's going to go nowhere. And it's a war zone, and Egypt knows it's stupid to let them come into a war zone. It's as stupid as Greta Schmuckman or whatever her name was, you know. That dingaling, when she got back to France, said she was kidnapped. Yeah, they kidnapped her. Here's some sandwiches, here's fresh water. She's supposed to be a vegetarian. They gave her a pastrami sandwich. I don't think they did that on purpose, but I don't know where they get pastrami. You know, I buy pastrami in the supermarket, but it's not New York pastrami. It's something else. That's probably what they gave her. It's sandwich meat. If you get the higher grade stuff, it's really pretty tasty. Some of it has garlic and other things in it. It's really not bad. It really isn't. It's not as good as New York hard salami. It's very difficult to find hard salami in Israel. It exists. You can get it. We have some in the house now, I think. Most of it is mushy, like bologna. Like, if you're familiar with Hebrew National brand in America, they make a very, very good, accurate Jewish salami that's hard as all get up. And it's good. And they make a bologna, and it's very soft, and that's pretty typical of what you find in Israel, but not as soft as bologna. But anyway, enough on the culinary. All right. So America's got a problem internally brewing. Israel has a problem internally brewing with a vote of no confidence against Netanyahu. Now, this is the problem that they're afraid with this. You can't pull a vote of no confidence every week. Every week. When they pull it, they can't do it again for 6 months. Now, maybe another party can do it. I don't know. Now, there's another party that wants to try to do the vote of no confidence, but it may not work. So if you try it and it doesn't work, nothing happened. Okay? So I don't know what Netanyahu would need to show 61 supporting votes out of the Knesset. And because of the problems with Yemen and Iran, and possibly now Iraq, he might easily get 61 votes. So it looks like the Lord's going to have to get rid of Netanyahu and his gang, because they're definitely detrimental to Israel, you know. Now, I don't know how bad this is going to be. Trump and Netanyahu may be setting us up, just like Biden and Netanyahu set us up for October 7th. And, in my opinion, and they might let, they might do something very stupid, like attack the nuclear sites and not attack the missile cities and the mobile missile launches and stuff like that. And Iran may launch at Israel a lot of missiles and cause a lot of problems. Although I'm rather certain that Israel is going to attack the radar initially, with or without the help of America, and take down the radar. And that's why Iran is saying they're going to hit the American bases, because when their radar goes, their over-the-horizon radar, they're not going to be able to lob missiles 11 or 1,200 miles into Israel with any accuracy and cause damage. We've seen this in the past. So, they can hit the other side of the Persian Gulf, which would be Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, Saudi, and Jordan with the help of Iraq and of course the help of Yemen, and they might have a lot of missiles in Iraq that they could just drive in, put them on trucks, and they could just drive into Iraq without having any interference from a third country. So that could really make oil prices crazy. Let's check oil prices right now. It was in the 60s. Let's check oil and gold and silver. Let's do the whole thing. Let's take a quick dive into that. It doesn't take long. It could be helpful. Okay, oil spot price now. Maybe I got it. Let's see. No, it's a site that tells you they're going to give you the price, and they don't. They love them, and they try to sell you some garbage. Uh, it's not really high. I think at the highest I saw was 67, 66. It's a little bit more than it was by a couple of bucks. 60, I think it's 67, 66. That's not really significant increase. That's a little bit of a fear thing going on about Iran. Let's check gold and silver. Probably we'll find the same thing. Very minor price advances, that's all. Let's take a look. Nothing going on with gold. 33.71, right in the normal 33 range. Silver slightly high, 36.29. That's it. Hasn't gone down yet. Let's take a look at the U.S. currency. A little bit anyway. The currency, American currency, could go up and it could go down. I don't know what the heck's going to happen. I think it'll go up and then it'll go down in that order, but let's see. Take a look against the shekel, but that doesn't tell us a lot. What happened here? Let's try again. It's shekel. Yeah, nothing dramatic. Let's try it against the euro. US dollar against the euro. Oh, this is becoming difficult to work with. Hold on. Let me try. Yeah, it's too annoying to work with that. I don't think there's anything major going on with the currencies right now or anything. But they're getting a little antsy, and it's reflected in the oil prices. But that's not anything serious. It's like I say, they're getting a little antsy, that's all. not anything real serious yet. Oh, it'll get serious. Um, LL Airlines got sued, like in a kind of a class action way, because they took advantage of um, national tragedy, the war, by when other airlines were canceling, they were raising their prices to incredibly high levels, doubling, tripling, and then some. So they were profiteering, and Netanyahu didn't seem to mind because he never does. It's a piece of garbage. All right, let me go into the social media and see if we have any serious updates, okay? Which isn't going to be a big journey here. Let me just take a look and see. Because the news is breaking very, very fast now. What happened here? There we are. You know, I go in and I check the news and some of the social media things, and they got 40 posts. I can't spend the time going, I can't read 1,000 posts a day. So I just look for the most important stuff. I may have to cut this Telegram out and just go on more live streams. I'm thinking about that. The Telegram is tremendously boring. Not boring, it's time. I mean, some of these, I mean, I check a lot of sites, and some of these people are putting 150, 200 posts or more every day. It's too much. But I guess I'll have to do it with the wars breaking out. I'll have to go through it still. Uh, they're talking something they might have a compromise with the ultra-Orthodox on the military, where more and more of them go into the military. I don't know. I can't read all this. All right. The news is sometimes overwhelmingly large in volume. We're getting threats from the Gaza humanitarian aid, and I'm not going to pay attention to that. The bunch of liars. What are they threatening? They're lying. They want to hurt the Gazan people and blame it on Israel. That's what Hamas wants to do. You don't have to keep reading the reports. That's exactly what their goal is. one of the subscribers says that it seems surreal that we're actually arriving there. And I agree. But it's real. It looks real. There was a time, I spelled out the Shanat time for you many times. No, let me check a couple other places real quick and see if we had any big developments. Most of the world is sleeping, but not the Middle East. But let's see if anything has popped up. I'm not going around chasing the Ukraine-Russia war. I cover it a little bit, but it's not anything that's going to bring the end time events in. So why put a lot of energy into that? I think what the ultra-Orthodox are trying to do is get some kind of a law passed giving them some exemption from the draft. No, I'm not seeing any more news pop up, kids. Let me check. No, let me look in the live stream, see if we're getting anything. Uh, oh yeah, Mexico and what army? Well, you're going to have the cartels, the citizens of Mexico, and probably a lot of the military coming in. That's who. They're vicious people, guys. And they hate Americans. Some of you that are from Spanish-speaking families may not know all of this, but they do hate you. You can go any place from Mexico to Argentina and speak perfect Spanish, and they'll still rip you off and scam you. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. Okay? Helium is meant to be running out as well. This I don't understand. Helium. Fire balloons? Is that what you're talking about? Even when it's a basket with combustible material burning with a helium balloon. Yeah, ruler versus ruler. Well, it looks like that's coming to pass with the protests. Martial law is worse than Insurrection Act. Not necessarily. It is and it isn't. You know, a curfew is a form of martial law, really. If you have the Insurrection Act and you impose a curfew, say 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. and the military's enforcing it. Tell me how that's different from martial law. I don't quite get it. Pakistan immigrants in Ireland. Yeah, that would cause the Irish people to be very upset at their government and at these people that have come to seek refuge and live in Ireland and are disrespecting the people, especially the women. And they're infuriated at these people, and they're infuriated at the government for letting these bums come into the country, not vetted or anything else. At least Israel doesn't do that. Sentiments seem to be pretty high right now with a lot of Arabs living in Israel. There's 1.6 million that are citizens here. And they run around, they have jobs, they drive buses, and I'm being told they're nasty towards the people, the Arab bus drivers. I haven't conducted any surveys. It could be a couple of random events, I don't know. Generally, they're pretty interested in just being left alone and staying in Israel because they have more freedom and more economic benefit and better health care than they're going to get from any of the Muslim majority countries in the world. There was some very interesting posts at Twitter from people, some guy that was familiar with immigration from a family member working there for decades, and this person was saying that the figure of illegal aliens in America is probably closer to 50 million than 30 million. Now, I've heard this in the past before Trump was president too. I heard at least 30 million, and Trump acknowledged the 30 million figure before he won the election. He said there was at least, or there were 30 million. And it's common that everybody's going to tell you 60 to 70% of them are military age single males. By the way, Ireland is saying the same thing. Military age single males are the ones coming over there. This is an attempt to overthrow the governments and impose Islam on the people, which means the non-Islamic people become slaves to the Islamic people. And, you're not going to see this happen. We know that from Bible prophecy. So we know Iran's going to get very badly busted up, and the people are going to have to leave Iran and scatter into all the countries in the world. And this is found in Jeremiah 49 towards the end of the chapter. The country is referred to as Elam, E-L-A-M, which is referencing Iran, Iraq, and Syria, according to some historians, which makes perfect sense considering we see Iraq in this thing. Now, Syria may not be heavily involved in this, but there are still Iranian militia groups in South Syria running loose. They will probably be deployed. This could cause a lot of destructions to Syria, as in Damascus shall be a ruinous heap. Okay? Israel can just decide they had enough of this idiot in Syria. The ISIS guy, ISIS Al-Qaeda with a new paint job. They could just say they're sick of this, okay? At the very least, he's an incompetent leader. And he talks out of both sides of his mouth. One side is ISIS Al-Qaeda, and the other side is, oh, we want peace, the big lie, So Elam can be Iraq, Syria, and Iran, but as a minimum, it's Iran. Okay, it probably does include Iraq, and I don't know about Syria, but it could. Some historians think it's Iran, Iraq, and Syria, and it gets destroyed very badly, and that's going to happen. And I can't guarantee you that America's going to have a heavy hand in this. It could be different, but I don't think so. I think it says destroyed by her enemies in the plural. And we had Germany, France, and the UK trying to get an official comment or statement from the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, in a very derogatory fashion towards Iran, which they're going to use to smack massive amounts of sanctions on Iran. And I think this is what Trump was, dawdling with Iran about, waiting for this to come to pass. And then he's going to get coalition partners. And the IAEA is saying they already have enough nuclear material to build 10 bombs. And now we're told very recently they were testing part of their nuclear bomb triggering device. I don't believe in the nuclear bomb stuff, okay? But they were testing it. And what I think Iran did is they danced with America until they were able to fortify the facilities they wanted to fortify against attack, which would be the missile cities and the nuclear facilities, secret ones and disclosed ones alike, and possibly other military compounds. And now they're basically telling America to take a long walk on a short pier. They're just insulting America. And Trump is still showing weakness. And that might be because Trump wants to see Iran do a preemptive attack, because then he doesn't need to worry about Congress and impeachment. He just goes, boom, let's kill Iran, right? Now, I'm still at a little bit of a loss as to how they're going to kill Iran and what kind of damage they're going to take. Now, they are threatening the countries that are friendly with America as well. Not just attacking the military bases. So who's friendly with America? Kuwait has at least 5,000 American military there. Kaching, Kuwait. Bahrain has a big American Navy base there. Kaching, they're friendly with America. Qatar has a big American air base there. Kaching. UAE has a lot of American soldiers there. Kaching. Jordan, lots of American military there. Kaching. Saudi Arabia, lots of American military and equipment in Saudi Arabia. Kaching. Okay, so they will probably also attack the oil refineries and the ports and piers of these countries to stop the oil from flowing. Now there's another caveat to this. They may not have to, and they might be afraid of making more enemies in the Arab world if they do this. So they can easily close the Straits of Hormuz, stopping the flow of oil on ships from all these countries through the Persian Gulf, just by using naval mines, in addition to other weapons they have on ships, go-fast boats and stuff like that. They could manage a rather serious shutdown of shipping in the Persian Gulf, and the Houthis could attempt to shut down more shipping in the Red Sea and the water under Yemen, I forget what they call it, and all the way down to Saudi Arabia. So it could cause a massive spike in oil. And I'm talking $200, $300, $400, $500 a barrel. I mean, you're talking at least $200 a barrel if something like this happens, okay? And what about gold? Well, it's going to take a big effort for gold to hit 3,500, but not a lot. It's at 33. So it'll go probably in a few hours to 35. Will it hold? Depends on what happens. If the war and the fighting keeps going, the day after that or 2 days after that, gold will hit, probably the next day, gold will go over 4,000. And then if it keeps going with a lot of civil disobedience in America, it can go over 5,000. And will it be getting more than that? I don't know. There are people who are talking $10,000 an ounce, and I don't know if that's pretty high, you know. Do I think it'll hit 5,000 with some wars? Yes. That could also mean odd numbers like 6,700, 7,100, you know. But 10,000 seems to me to be pretty far-fetched, but I don't know. I don't think anybody knows, but I could see 5,000 real easy. Now, silver at 36 could easily go to 100. Easily. Like that, in a couple of days, it could go to 100. Because gold is so high, people are going to want, let's call it survivalist precious metals that they could put in their pocket or their backpack and hit the road with, okay? So there's not a lot of gold they're going to be able to hit the road with, and if gold's 4,800 an ounce, how many ounces of it are you going to buy? 2, and what are you going to do with it? Buy food with it at $4,800? Where are you going to fill your truck up with 6 months of food or something? So silver has a more practical survivalist prepper value. So people will start gravitating more and more to silver, which will run the price up moderately. It'll probably triple. To bring it in at about 100 an ounce. Now remember, when your pawn shops and coin dealers and these people are going to be reluctant to buy gold right after it spikes. Okay, let me explain. Let's say gold's 33 now and it goes to 3,900, right? They're not going to want to buy it that day at 3,900. The next day it goes to 43, then it goes to 47, and you know, they're going to try to pay a couple of $100 under market because they're going to be afraid to buy it. But what's going to happen, and I know this happens, is people will go in, you got any gold to sell? And they'll say no. And they'll say, okay, nobody else does either. Call me if you get some. So they'll call the guy up on the phone and they'll say, I got 4 ounces of gold here. Okay, the guy wants, let's say gold's at 4,700. You can say the guy wants, you know, to sell it to you, gold's 47. I got to get 47.65. Do you want it? You go, I say sure, and then they'll do it. Okay. They'll tell the guy, leave your gold here or wait. The guy's coming down. And when I sell it to him, I'll give it to you. So he's going to make $65 an ounce. That's all he's going to make. But if he sells 30 or 40 ounces a day, the guy got himself a little bit of money, you know. But they're going to be afraid, you know, to pay, because they don't want to go in at $4,700 and then there's some sort of ceasefire and everybody calms down and then gold drops back to 3,300 and he bought it at 47. He'd go out of business. That's what the problem is with these people. And you never want to buy paper gold. So you want to have physical gold in your house, and you want to have physical silver in your house. my opinion, the best of the coins, because they're somewhat harder to counterfeit. There's not a great deal of people running around trying to spend a lot of time and money counterfeiting silver coins because they're only worth 33, dollars and a 1 ounce silver round, and it's going to take a lot to counterfeit it. They'd much rather go counterfeiting gold, where you can make a big home run. So anyway, enough on the precious metals. The stock markets may crash, and they'll suspend trading, and they may never open. So if you're holding stocks, bonds, options, futures, any of that, you should get out of them, because they're going to suspend. Once the prices start diving, they're going to suspend trading. And when they suspend trading, it may never open again, and your money is just frozen. You can't establish a price for it. You're just out of luck. You're broke. Okay? Paper gold, pretty similar. You got to have the stuff in your hand. Okay? U.S. Treasury notes will be worthless, So America is going into a double whammy minimally here that might turn into a quadruple whammy. But the double whammy is Iran and the Middle East and problems in America. Now China and North Korea may intensify the problems in America, sleeper agents minimally. Russia too. Do I see Russia attacking NATO? No, not now. I don't see it. I could be wrong, but I don't see Russia being able to sustain anything like that. Unless a lot of sleeper agents are cut loose inside Europe and start creating massive nightmares in Europe. Remember Jeremiah 30:11, which is associated with the birth pangs, okay? In Jeremiah 30. He's going to destroy all the nations he scattered the Israelites into over the centuries, which is practically all of them. And it repeats it in Jeremiah 46, verse 28. And it's going to happen, okay? And we know Edom's going to get it, which is Yemen. Edom is Yemen. They're going to get destroyed, and Israel's going to have the remnant as a possession, which means slaves. So do I think Edom is going to be destroyed, Yemen and Iran, before the daughter of Babylon is finished? I think so. Yemen could always get destroyed by the two witnesses or after the redemption, but I think it happens before. You see, it's very difficult to get all this sequencing because we do fight after redemption a lot, with a lot of land. And that's when we're going to really be getting the land back. Now, why is Iran going to suffer? Isaiah 34, verse 8. I will read it. And is that going to apply to Yemen also? You bet. Does that apply to Gaza, Hezbollah, Iraq? You bet. All of these jerks. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. See, there's a day of vengeance, and on that day, Jehovah does all this. The nations can't destroy themselves with war in a single day. Don't believe that, okay? They can't do it, okay? It's absolutely not ever going to happen, okay? They're not going to destroy each other that way. The Lord's going to destroy them, so everybody knows it came from the Lord, and now you know why. Because of the controversy over Zion. Hang on a minute. This is my delivery of food. And they're telling me I'm shorted out on something. I want to see what it is. Their website doesn't work, so blueberries. Yeah, I'm trying hard to get blueberries. I don't know. I've been trying for a week, and I keep getting shorted out. It's amazing how bad they are. I think I got it. Yeah, I think I got it substituted. Well, at least it won't call me. So the nations aren't going to go around and wage war with each other and wipe each other out in one day. Oh, some of you are going to say, oh, they can with their nuclear bombs. Guys, they're not real, the nuclear bombs. But even if they were, it would be more than a day. It wouldn't work. They're not doing it with bombs. The Lord's going to do it. In the day of vengeance. Now that the word for day is yom, Y-O-M. And that means day. That doesn't mean a year. It doesn't mean it's a day that lasts 20 days. It means it's a day. More specific references. The day starts at sundown, you might say, and it ends at sundown. It's a 24-hour thing. Okay? Jehovah's going to do it because he's going to show the nations. He's saying, there's a scripture that says, I will deal with the heathen like they never heard. Like they never heard of. And he did a lot of bad things to them in the past for what they did to Israel. And even before the flood, the Noah flood, what he did to them. He's going to really lay it on them this time. And he's going to do it. Could you stop crying, please? And he's going to do it in a way that everybody's going to know it's Jehovah. See, a lot of the darkness in the world is going to disappear after the day of vengeance. Not all of it. Then you're going to see Isaiah 60, where they're going to be carrying the Israelites on their shoulders in many different ways back to Israel as an offering, the kings and the royals and the wealthy. And they're going to bring all sorts of gifts, and I do hope they bring the yachts. Cruise ships might be useful, I don't know. Cruise ships could be useful in terms of housing people till we get places for them to sleep, but they may have to disembark the ships of Tarshish, the cruise ships, so they could go bring more people back. I don't have all the details, kids. We'll get it as we need it. We don't need it today, but we'll get the information as we need it. Are the two witnesses going to be in America helping out? Well, Moses and Aaron helped out with the Exodus. Of course, they were in Egypt anyway, but, it could be, I don't know, likely, I would say. The four workmen again. Who is that? The two witnesses, Enoch and Elijah. Who else? Apostle John, who happens to be an apostle and he must prophesy again. Apostles do prophesy. He was told he would prophesy again to many nations, people's tongues in Revelation, and it has to happen. And it says in the scripture, he said some in the Kehillah, the congregation, or they say the church, apostles, prophets, pastors, teachers, and evangelists. The prophets are the two witnesses, okay? The apostle would be Apostle John. I don't think there's any other apostles that are going to be here. Because it says Yeshua said when the disciples were there'd be some standing here among you that shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God. Well, it doesn't say some. It really says, when you study strong, someone. So it appears it's just one. Now, is it possible there's more than one? I don't know, but I doubt it. I don't think so. I think it's just Apostle John. And that would meet the test he set in the Kehillah or the Ecclesia, apostles, prophets, we got those two covered. Pastors, teachers, and evangelists would have probably hands laid on them by the apostle and the prophets, and they would be raised up in the office. It's that type of thing. Okay? So we'd have that. Remember, when you read Ezekiel 20, I believe, starting in verse 33, the people from the nations that, are the Israelites and the true believers are going to have everlasting life, and they go to the wilderness where they pass under the rod. In other words, the shepherd would hold the rod and make sure all the sheep going into the pen were sheep, not goats or wolves or whatever, jackrabbits or who knows what, right? And enter into the bond of the covenant. And the ones that are going to call on the unclean spirits and lie and rob and cheat and steal, they're going to die in the wilderness. Like, I believe they'll die. Maybe they get left in the wilderness. I would assume they die like they did with Moses and Aaron. But they're not going to make it into Israel. It doesn't say specifically they died, but they're not going to make it into Israel. It says that specifically. So Israel's not going to have any unclean spirits in there after Zechariah 12, and we're not going to have any of the darkness in there anymore. There's a vetting, screening by the Lord before they enter into the land of Israel. Now, the dry bones don't go to the wilderness, they just come to Israel. So you're going to have Enoch, Elijah, you're going to have Apostle John, and then we have the anointed prince in the next temple, which comes down from heaven. And he would be from the line of David. And as I understand it, predominantly he'll be with the temple. Those are your four workmen. In addition to that, we got the glory of God of Israel who will come and go into the temple. So it's going to be a whole other world. One that you're going to love and enjoy, and you're going to laugh and celebrate and have a great time, and So it's finally looks like it's coming to an end. Or a beginning, the end of the end. Okay, Mommy, stop the crying. Oh, that dog is just jealous. One's outside and one's inside, and the one inside is crying because she hears the other one barking and saying, oh, I wish I was out there. So I got to rotate these two knuckleheads. So, what time is it now? It's still early. So, my wife went to get her cryotherapy. It does tend to work for her here. She has to travel a long way, both ways, as many hours on the bus. Being old, we get to ride the bus for free and the trains. That's a nice thing Israel does, is when you're over a certain age, you get to go on the bus and the train for free. The light rail, the real railroads like the Amtrak Railroad and all the buses, they're all free to you. I don't travel around too much, but my wife does. So it doesn't cost a bus fare to go there, but I think it's about $60 or $65 a session for the cryo in Israel, where in America it was $20, but the place that had it in America let her join for $300 a month. And if she wanted to go 5 times a day, she could go 5 times a day. They didn't care how many times you go. Well, once a day is recommended. So it's very, very inexpensive compared to what they're doing in Israel, which is the way they play in Israel. They gouge you. We got money and you don't, so we'll bleed you poor people. Why don't you wake up and serve Satan? You know, that's basically their message, I guess, you know. They take advantage of the poor people in Israel. It's soon going to be over. The 2/3 will be cut off and they'll be gone. I don't know how the government of Israel is going to be gone, but we don't see the government of Israel in Malachi 3 or 4, and we don't see it, the IDF, and we don't see them in Zechariah 12. And we do read that the Lord gets rid of the militaries of the world, so he may get rid of the IDF. It sounds crazy, I know, how could this be? I don't know, but it might happen. I don't know what he's going to do to get rid of it, but the IDF is never going to save Israel, never going to get our land back for us. It's never going to happen. It's always going to be Jehovah. And when the 2 witnesses do it, it's Jehovah. Okay? It's Jehovah. They're God's sons that came down from heaven. They go up to heaven just like Yeshua did on a cloud. Rose from the dead go up on a cloud, just like Yeshua. They're his brothers from heaven. That's who they are. Read Zechariah 4:14. It says, Shtaim B'nai Yitzhar, which means 2 sons of clarified oil, which means anointed sons. It was a hidden way of saying that. What does Mashiach mean? See, they say his name was Christ, which it's Greek coming from the Latin Christos, which means anointed. No house sparks! That's forbidden. Hey, no house sparks! So when you say the 2 sons of oil standing next to the Lord of the whole earth, which Zechariah 4:14 is describing the 2 candlesticks and the 2 olive trees, Revelation 11, the 2 witnesses, they're in heaven. They're sons of God standing by him, anointed sons. That's who he sends down with this tremendous power. It's elected unto man to die only once. Enoch and Elijah have been down on earth and both didn't die. So they were humans and didn't die, so they have to come back and die. Moses died. He did his job. Okay? He can't die again. Yeshua died. He can't die again. Okay? Now, Apostle John doesn't die when the 2 witnesses die, because the 2 witnesses don't see the kingdom of God coming. Apostle John does. Okay, the anointed prince, he too is probably a son of God, although I am unsure of this. I do not know for sure. He gets cut off in Daniel 9:26 or 25 or something like that. He gets cut off not for his own sake. That's not Yeshua. That's the anointed prince in the temple. Read Ezekiel 45. He's very heavily depicted there. So things will happen fast. Events will cascade and fall on each other, or like the dominoes falling over, knocking down big rows of them at one time. And you'll see it. And the daughter of Babylon got to go. We don't really see the daughter of Babylon in Zechariah 12 or 13 or Malachi 3 or 4, do we? No, we don't. No, we don't. But the Exodus isn't really going to be able to get going until the 2 witnesses are in place. So are you going to see the 2 witnesses be revealed pretty soon openly? I think so. Very, very, very soon. before the appearing of Yeshua in the clouds. Yeah, yeah. And the temple will precede that also, I believe. And I believe that with Elijah training the Levites to make the offerings acceptable unto the Lord, that brings uh, the blessings of the law on Israel. And that is when Elijah and Enoch burn up the enemies surrounding Israel in the siege. See, I think when America's busted up, they're going to do a siege on Israel. Now, the siege could have many reasons. One is, see, how do you stop the Israelites from coming into Israel? Well, you could stop them in the countries they're in, which are many, but those countries are going to be all busted up. Hang on, I got to check what this is. My wife, hold on, I got to see what she's talking about. Oh, she's just telling me there's a package coming today. Okay, so how do you stop the Israelites from, the true believers from coming into Israel? Well, one way is you keep them in America and, Ireland and Germany and all these other countries, right? Is there an easier way to do it? Yeah, you just lay siege to Israel and surround it and don't let anybody in or out, right? Can you dig it? You get it? So the siege is not an invasion. It's sort of a blockadish thing, but they do attack while they're in siege, but nobody's going to get in. So then the two witnesses take them out in Zechariah 12, verse 6, and make room for the appearing of Jehovah and Yeshua in the clouds. Matthew 24:30, Revelation 1:7, 1 John 3:2, John 6, verse 40, Zechariah 12, verse 10. This is never taught by the church. Okay. So after all the waiting and praying and studying the scriptures, it looks like we're finally arriving. And I know that we're all busted up. I know we are, because I have the privilege of talking and communicating with many of you. And I know that I don't know anybody who's not busted up. And I just use that as a street term, mental, psychological pressure, physical pressure, economic pressure, family pressure, fellowship pressure, all kinds of pressure, job pressure, work pressure, this pressure, that pressure, all over the place, right? Weary. But keep doing the spiritual warfare. Keep it up. Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't stop. Satan wants you to stop doing spiritual warfare. He don't stop. Why should you? So, it's finally coming to an end. And then they'll be crying and we'll be laughing. So, it looks like we've arrived, pretty close to arriving anyway. So. Trump's in a snare. He doesn't know what he's doing at this point. Israel may do the attack, and probably have help from America with refueling tankers, intel, radar, and stuff like that. Or America may join in the attack. Trump said he would actually do the attack. I don't know what they're going to do. Satan would want Israel to start the attack so Iran can attack Israel and harm Israel, but Netanyahu may be a little bit afraid to let anything like that happen, so we'll see how it goes. Also, with the IAEA thing, they're going to issue a statement like that. And then that's going to increase the ranks to Israel, America, UAE, Germany, and France, minimally. And then you may see a few other countries join in. Italy would be a contender, and a few others, maybe Poland, Romania. I don't know. We'll see. Could have a few more countries kick in. Canada, maybe. I don't have any idea. I don't know. Because it says that it gets destroyed by their enemies. And remember Isaiah 34:8. We're in the year of recompenses still, but we haven't hit the day of vengeance yet, but we will. The appearing is going to be when the moon turns to blood and the sun goes dark. That'll be just before the appearing, I believe. And the day of vengeance could be after the appearing or before or the same day. Probably about the same day, I'm not sure, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe not, I don't know. We know the end result from the prophecies, but we don't know all the little pieces of how we get there. Okay? We just don't know. Mommy, stop it! Alright, let me check the live stream and see if we got any questions. I have a question was asked to me. Jehovah said, I come in my Father's name, and I am the door. I say, we also come in our Father's name. We are the house. Who knows what these mean? He's the door to the sheep pen. That's what he's saying. You pass under the rod and you go into the sheep pen, and there you enter into the bond of the covenant. That should help you. Okay, that's what I got for today. So I will keep you updated as I pick up information. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife. Pray for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues to be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray we don't get any more snakes on our property, which is very unusual. Pray we don't get any more, please. And we don't get any scorpions. And I haven't seen a scorpion here in many years, but I don't want to see them either. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for better videos with more insights. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out. Thanks, guys. I hope you got something out of this. Please, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you.